Who's ready for some wrestling? Yeah! What is up, guys? It is almost time for WrestleMania 32. They don't add the numbers anymore, but it's WrestleMania 32, taking place in Dallas. I used to live in the Dallas area, and I'm so jealous of all my friends who actually get to see this thing live, but don't worry, I will be checking it out on the WWE Network. $9.99. You can get it right now and get your first month free. I am super excited. I was not excited for the show about 2 months ago because everyone is injured. But I think that they kind of duct tape this whole thing together, and we should have a pretty good show, hopefully with lots of surprises, upsets, and fun WrestleMania moments. So I'm just going to do a rundown of what I think is going to happen in some of the bigger matches. If you agree with me, disagree with me, if you think that I'm totally right or totally wrong, let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you follow me at RealMattWaz, and let me know what you think while the show is going on. I would love to talk to a few of you guys about what you think while the show is going on tomorrow night or Sunday night, depending on when you're watching this. First up, we got the Usos versus the Dudley Boys. I am going to take the Usos. Not because I like the Usos, I actually will be rooting for the Dudley Boys, but I think that the Dudley Boys will pull off some awesome things, but the Usos, for some reason, people really like them. I say ooh, you say Usos. Next up, we got the Total Divas versus Team Bad and Blonde. This is a thing that's happening. It is a 10-woman tag team match, and that is incredibly sad. I think that the Divas are going to win it just because there's more popular people on the Diva side than the Blonde and Bad side. I do think it's interesting that we will actually see Lana wrestle because we just never really see that. She's always kind of with Rusev or with Ziggler for that little bit. Next up, we got the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. This one is a little bit more tricky to pick because we don't know everyone who's going to be in it. My hope and prayer is that Bray Wyatt wins it because I really like Bray Wyatt. I think that he is a guy who does awesome storylines, he cuts awesome promos, and then loses all the time at everything he does. Every time that it matters, he loses, and they want him to be this next Undertaker, and they just keep making him lose. So I think that's a really bad strategy. I think this could be something where we've seen in Rumbles that he can be strong, that he can be dominant and knock a ton of people out. So I would really love to see him win. I will be very disappointed if one of his brothers wins and he doesn't, but I'm rooting for him. I don't even know if he'll be in it, but since he's not really in any of the other cards, I hope that he will get involved in this, and I hope that he wins. Next up, we have the U.S. Championship, Kalisto versus Ryback. I think Kalisto is a really interesting character. He's a smaller guy who's a high flyer, and you have Ryback, who is, I punch things, I super big, make strong man, punch you down. That's Ryback, basically. Feed me more. Feed me more. And I do think Ryback is going to win. I think that they're not going to waste this completely random heel turn. I think that people don't like him, so we might as well have him get booed. That's a really good idea, WWE. If someone is continually booed, let's just make him a bad guy. Hint, hint. Roman Reigns, hint, hint. It'll make the U.S. Championship a little bit more exciting if it's being back and forth. I think that Kalisto will have a chance to get it back later, but I think Ryback has to do something because they keep pushing him, and he just keeps messing up and messing up and messing up. Next up, we got the Intercontinental Championship, and it's a ladder match. We have 6 guys, and I'm not really sure who's going to win. My general guess is someone like Dolph Ziggler. I think that people seem to like him, and I think that he would be a good pick for the IC champ. But what I do think is going to happen is I think that something's going to happen, obviously, with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, to where they're going to be that close to winning it, and they are going to either sacrifice their own chance or something like that to blow the other guy's chance at winning the title, and then someone like Dolph Ziggler is going to come along and capitalize on that chance. So I think the big thing coming out is Dolph Ziggler probably will win the title, And then it almost just continues to fuel / kick off this individual feud between Zayn and Kevin Owens. Next up, we got another match between AJ Styles and Chris Jericho. I think that AJ Styles is going to end up winning this one. We have seen before with the Fandango mess that Chris Jericho is totally okay with losing as long as it helps somebody. And AJ Styles being this new phenomenon, the phenomenal one, I think that it could end this very well, and I think that AJ Styles kind of needs that push a little bit more than Jericho, because people either love or hate Jericho. Nothing's really going to change that at this point. But for some fans who this is their first exposure to AJ Styles, he kind of needs that push a little bit more. So I think, to end it all, I think AJ Styles is going to beat Chris Jericho in this match. Next up, we got Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose in a street fight. I think this one has the potential to steal the show because Brock Lesnar loves to basically murder people in the ring, and Dean Ambrose enjoys being murdered in the ring. So I think that works out really nicely. Overall, I kind of feel like this is going to be some sort of weird finish where Brock Lesnar is going to win, but Dean Ambrose is going to come out on top. It kind of reminds me of a Stone Cold Steve Austin passing out in a pool of blood instead of tapping out to kind of cement his, wow, nothing can kill this guy. So I feel like something is going to happen to where Brock ends up winning, but the respect is given to Dean Ambrose because he fights and he sticks in there and he even gives Brock everything that he can. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool spots in here with all of the different weapons and tools that they are able to use in a street fight. But I think Brock Lesnar wins because you have to keep Brock Lesnar happy. But I think that it's going to end in a way where Dean Ambrose is kind of seen as the tougher of the two because he endures all this great suffering to get to that point. Next up, we have the Divas Championship between Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte. I think this is finally going to be where Ric Flair messes something up. That's what I'm hoping. They always build to it, and they always say, oh, this is where it's going to happen, and then it never happens, and something weird always happens. But I think Ric Flair finally needs to get Charlotte mad at him, and there has to be some sort of rift. There needs to be some sort of tear there. And so what I'm thinking is that Sasha Banks is going to end up winning because somehow, through some sort of shenanigans, Ric Flair costs Charlotte the match. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I'm really hoping that happens. And then she kind of turns on her father, because what better moment to do it where the championship is on the line in the biggest WrestleMania of all time, and that's when your father kind of blows it for you. That would be a perfect time for her to get mad at Ric Flair and her to kind of have this separation, because eventually they have to split. She's done very well without just riding her father's coattails, but she's still on her father's coattails. So I think that this would be a great time to propel Sasha Banks as the Divas Champion, and at the same time kind of change up that storyline between Ric Flair and Charlotte. Next up, we have Shane O'Mac versus The Undertaker in Hell in a Cell. And I think that this one is going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to be really good. I don't think it's going to be very quick, but I think there's going to be a lot of really good spots. A lot of build up, climbing onto things, jumping off of things, hitting people with things, flying all over the place. And I think it is going to be great. I hope. Now, here is my little conspiracy theory, what I hope they do with this storyline. I think it's going to be bloody. I think it's going to be intense. I think it's going to be back and forth. But what I think is going to happen, what I hope is going to happen, and if so, yes, I will be so glad if I call this. But I think that it's going to be back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. I think Vince McMahon is going to be out to watch like the finale somehow. Vince will be out there, and Taker will hit the tombstone pile driver. Something will happen along those lines. Vince will be out there pumping his fist. Yes, yes. So excited that his son is about to be defeated. Taker will pin him, tongue out, all that sort of stuff. And 1, 2, Taker gets up. And everyone's like, what? Like, not Shane kicks out. Shane's done at this point. But Taker gets up, looks at Vince McMahon in the eyes, does the throat cut, and then collapses. Shane, then with his last ounce of energy, puts his arm over. 1, 2, 3, pin. I think that would be really, really cool because while, yes, Shane would win and Taker would lose, Taker's streak's already lost. I don't think that this will be his last WrestleMania because with Shane in charge of Raw, then Vince doesn't necessarily even have that call to make sure that this is Taker's last Mania, which still sets us up hopefully for something like a John Cena or a Sting versus Taker for his finale, hopefully next year. It shows that Taker could have won and would have won if he wanted to. But with all of the, how do I say this lightly? Vince calling Taker his person that he owns, his instrument of destruction. Let's go with that phrase that he used. With him saying that about Taker, I think that Taker's almost ego or his legacy won't stand for that. So I think this would be a really cool spot to show that, okay, everyone knows I had him down for the 3 count. I could have won, but I'm looking you in the eye and I'm saying, you're done, man. He's going to take you out. And so Taker lets himself get pinned. So then you can kind of have both. You don't have Shane O'Mac beating this indestructible force at WrestleMania, which is the Undertaker. Everyone can still say, oh wow, how great is Taker? Taker, never loses. But on his own terms, he loses just to get to Vince McMahon. And then we can still have Shane O'Mac running Raw. I think that would be wonderful. So I am saying Shane O'Mac over Taker, but only because Taker lets him to get to Vince McMahon. And finally, we have the WWE Championship, which is Triple H versus Roman Reigns. Now, I am not the hugest fan of Roman Reigns, but I feel like it's become incredibly hipster to hate Roman Reigns. Do I think he's great? Nah. But last year's WrestleMania between him and Brock Lesnar was actually really good. I mean, it consisted mostly of him getting the crud beat out of him, but it was a really good match. There was a lot of really good spots, a lot of ups and downs, and I think that if people just gave him a chance to have a good match, a good physical match with someone like Triple H, where they are just going to town on each other, lots of punching and just suplexing and throwing them around the ring, I think it could be a really, really good match. My only fear is that I do think that Roman Reigns is going to win. I think that he is just the guy that they want to push. I think that he's an okay choice to push, especially with so many people injured. You don't have Seth Rollins. You don't have Cena. You don't have Cesaro. You don't have all of these people where people typically want them to be the champion. So why not just ride Roman Reigns? I mean, seriously, you had Sheamus be the champion, and people didn't seem to mind that. Roman Reigns isn't that much better than Sheamus. So just have Roman Reigns be the champion for a while, and then when Seth Rollins comes back, you can have them feud and then kind of set up maybe even a Shield reunion sort of thing. At the end of the day, I think that Roman Reigns will be the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion of the world. Is that right? Is there 2 worlds? He's going to win it, basically. I'm really actually hoping that Seth Rollins comes back. I don't know how. I think that he's still broken. But if he could come back, even for anything, even if it's just talking on the mic, that would be great, and I would be so happy. I'm going to wear my Seth Rollins shirt all day tomorrow. So that would be so, so cool. I don't know how that's going to happen. So that's my rundown of the show. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's going to be a great show? Do you think it's going to be a little bit of a letdown? Are there any surprises that you're hoping for? Like I said, I hope that mine is that Seth Rollins comes back, even if it's just for mic time. But what do you think? Who do you think is going to win? Who do you think is going to lose? Where do you think I'm right or wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to these videos. I really do appreciate when you do that. Also, my question of the day is, what match are you most looking forward to? Is it the Shane O'Mac Undertaker? Is it the Heavyweight Championship? Is it the ladder match for the Intercontinental Champion? Is it the Divas match? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching. I am Matt Wazbinski. Thanks for watching. If you smell